Well, Avery, I got us into quite a Halloween debacle with this episode.
Yeah, this was an interesting one, and if y'all clicked on the episode title, you may know what we're talking about. But if you're just here because you're a Green Corner fan, then fill the good folks in.
So what we originally set out to do, this is we've done this episode series a couple times, Showdown, like 1408 versus Oculus, other ones. We like to take two movies that have something in common and talk about them. You know, talk about compare and contrast what they do differently. So this Halloween, we thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a haunted house episode? Because if you've been watching our channel for a while, this whole channel started with Hell House LLC. And the year that I watched Hell House LLC the first time, way before we started this show, which probably when I first saw it, it would have been right around when it came out, like 10, 12 years ago. I loved it. And then I had this fascination with haunted houses, haunts. Like Halloween haunts specifically.
Yeah, this guy, he's in the lingo. He's in the world.
I'm in the world. I'm in the subculture. And I looked for other films that are also about haunts. And I stumbled across two other films, which was what we plan to talk about today, which is Haunt and The Houses October Built.
Yeah.
Two movies I saw. I remember being haunted house movies, being decent enough that I'm like, that'll be fun. Let's talk about those.
Two movies I ain't never heard of, no how.
Yeah. And both ones that have been recommended to us in the comments before. So we set off, I watched Haunt, and then I queued up The Houses October Built, and I started it. And I was watching it, and I'm like, what is going on? Because
you're watching on Shudder.
I was watching it on Shudder, and I was like, this is what the movie vaguely was about people going to haunts. But the camera was a higher quality than this, and these scenes didn't happen in this order, and it didn't go exactly the same way, but all the actors are the actors I remember being in the movie. And like the general broad strokes were the same.
Like some of the clips are definitely the same.
There's
there's
the
archival footage.
So then what we've discovered is that there was a Houses October Built that came out in 2011 and a Houses October Built that came out in 2014 made by the same people, and it's essentially a remake.
Yeah.
The 2014 is a remake of the film that came out 3 years prior with the same people, loosely the same film, but very different in execution.
Yeah, and this isn't entirely atypical, right? Like Mike Flanagan did Oculus before Oculus.
Yeah, as a short film.
Right, you're right. More often it is a short film. If you go back and look on IMDb, there's a lot of kind of debut horror films where there was some version of it before. I think the oddity here is that it was full length.
Yeah.
And that it was the exact same cast as themselves. Yeah. And that it was this close. Because I feel like the second one is like, A24 threw $30 million at him. It was like $1,200 instead of $60.
Yeah, like there's, from what I can tell what happened, the 2011 one, they set out to make a documentary. It was going to be a pure documentary with nothing scripted, and it was going to be a documentary about people who run haunts. And it was supposed to be like, they even say it in the movie, let's get under the mask. I want to get to know the actors that act in haunts, what makes them tick.
I don't want to get caught up in the monsters, but I want to get in as much as we can with behind the mask of all these people.
At some point during filming this documentary, this actual group of real-life friends traveling across the states in an RV doing this documentary, they realized it wasn't interesting, or they thought it wasn't interesting, so they pivoted to making it a horror film. And they started shooting scripted stuff with the friends in the van that kind of gave it this through-line narrative, and then the end of the movie, we won't spoil it yet, we'll get to it later, is like a scripted ending, like a full-on horror movie ending that was not a documentary.
Yeah, so it's this very like organically evolving idea for a movie like built out of just their real experience, which is cool. And then they kind of took a look at it and said like, that didn't work so good.
And apparently they didn't release it. So it didn't come out in 2011. I think it came out only more recently.
Yeah, I was looking elsewhere than Shudder, and not like I couldn't find any. Shudder got it, this original one,
and they often do get these weird limited release things.
And it doesn't seem like anywhere else or anyone else has this. I like was able to find references to it on Reddit and stuff. They're basically all tied back to the Shudder version. And funnily enough, Shudder doesn't have the real theatrical.
Don't. And like the trivia on IMDb for both films doesn't even really shed any light on this.
Yeah.
But apparently what happened is the 2011 one didn't get released. They decided it wasn't good enough. They put it on the shelf, and then they got more funding and came back and shot the 2014 one, which is basically them recreating the events of the 2011 documentary, but in a more intentionally scripted way. Like it is a true found footage horror film. It's not a documentary. They use clips from the 2011 one as B-roll. that like to fill in between scenes, but it is a scripted horror film. And it was very baffling to figure out why they both existed, what the differences are. You started one, you're like, wait, isn't this the same movie?
Yeah.
What are you talking? And I'm like, no, there's a 2011 one. So that's what was supposed to be a very simple discussion about Haunt and the Houses October Built as like a fun Halloween thing is now becoming more of a meta commentary on haunt films and the found footage genre. And we're going to be going a lot of different places today. So if that sounds interesting to you, come along for us on this journey. We are going to discuss all three films. We're going to compare and contrast. There is connective tissue between all three, mostly between two because they're the same movie, but Haunt's got some skin in this game.
We're going to start out with Haunt, and let me just say, if that doesn't sound interesting to you, then there's a lot of other channels on YouTube. You may be better served on one of those. It's kind of our whole thing.
We just got to do weird little things.
That's what we do. We're weird guys.
We're just weird guys. So come along for us on this journey. I don't know what we're going to call this episode. We'll figure it out when I make the thumbnail, but Haunted House Retrospective.
Well, that sounds good.
And I'm so petrified, my bodily reaction is just to punch him in the gut.
Haunt 2019 was something like that.
Sounds right. Something around there.
It was a film that I'd never heard of, that I'm sure a lot of you would scroll past immediately. Just a very generic name, very generic poster. It's a slasher. It's a slasher set in a haunted house. That obviously that's kind of our through line here.
Yeah.
You got your group of largely stereotypical teens.
College kids.
Yeah, college kids end up at this creepy haunted house out in the woods that's all mysterious. They start out and it's just like a regular haunted house and they're having fun, and then it moves into less of a regular haunted house, largely by the numbers.
It kind of becomes a Saw movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
But the framing, rather than being kidnapped by Jigsaw, you're in a haunted house. Like, you don't know you're in a Saw movie because you think it's a fun haunt experience, and then they slowly realize, oh no, the haunt is real.
Yeah, which I think hits on one of the big connective pieces, right, between these and Haunted House, these and Hell House. The interesting thing about haunted house horror is that line of when does it go from being it's a haunted house to it's actually dangerous?
Yes.
When do the characters notice that? When do we think that? I think both of these films, a lot of what's interesting about them is kind of dancing back and forth across that line.
Yeah.
Of like, do the characters think that there's a real threat? Do we think there's a real threat? Are either of us right?
Yeah, and Haunt actually does a really great job of drawing out that tension.
It does.
They get really deep in the haunted house before they know they're in real danger, which I loved. I thought it was going to be like, by the first room, they just kill one of them, and then they're in a saw trap.
Yeah.
They let them basically get to the end of the maze before it's really revealed that they are in real danger, and then a lot of the movie is spent kind of backtracking and navigating the maze in a way that was not intended. And they kind of give you the whole haunt as it would be experienced if it wasn't a killer haunt. And then they start the kind of horror stuff, which I thought was a nice touch. Because you are kind of in these movies to see the haunt.
Yeah.
Because that's why it's a subgenre. People like haunts. People are interested by them.
I think this film is it's about a haunted house, about people in a haunted house. It's very literally a haunted house too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about other films. Grave Encounter is probably the one where the second half is a haunted house, right? You're going down the corridor, spooky thing, run away, spooky thing. That is ultimately the structure of this movie. You're going through and encountering each of these spooky rooms. And it feels like it. It feels like you are literally walking through a haunted house and running into all these set pieces that range from like fun to fun for the characters, but I'm getting a little suspicious and anxious, like when is the shoe gonna drop? Ultimately to like, oh, very real, dangerous, high stakes, tense action.
Yeah.
And it kind of hits on all those beats. So, Haunt, it's an effective haunted house movie, both in theme and in execution.
And it's an interesting, so it's a writer-director duo. I'll put their names here because I don't remember. They wrote and directed it together, and they were also the writers of A Quiet Place. They were working on this at the same time as A Quiet Place. They obviously didn't direct A Quiet Place. John Krasinski did. But they're, bigger Hollywood writers than maybe this production would imply. Like, it feels more low budget than that. What's funny, though, is that given that they're most known for their writing, like not directing, I actually found the biggest weakness of this film was the writing. I found there was character moments and character motivations that fell really flat, and some of the writing of supposed to be like young people dialogue was very unbelievable. Some of it was good.
Yeah.
A lot of it wasn't believable. The strength of this film, for me, was the visuals. There are incredibly beautiful shots in this that would trick you into thinking this is a much higher budget production than it is. Like,
It looks really good.
I'll put in a few clips, but like when they're walking down that trippy hallway,
Yeah.
when they first go in the room with all the people in the sheets and like one little, there is shots in this that
The scene
are
with like the lady on the other side of the cage.
the witch.
Like, the witch.
Yeah.
And the smoke.
It's fantastic. The set pieces and
Just the colors. So many horror movies are just one color. Especially, this one's a little more recent, but through a lot of the 2000s, we talked about this in House of Wax, that I was expecting it to just be all blue or all yellow. But there's a lot of really rich color in this.
It's vibrant.
Given that it's all in one set, as they go room to room, they're very distinct.
I think this film is enjoyable. If you like these types of movies, you'll have a good time. It's way better than you would think it should be.
I think with slashers especially, right, there's kind of a default assumption when you're going into a slasher, and the interesting things to talk about are when it deviates really far from kind of that baseline in one way or the other, right? Is it as stupid as Wish Upon, or is it as brilliantly written as Hereditary, right? Is the gore as good as like Alien, or is it as just completely bland PG-13, it's awful, right? That's kind of what's interesting to talk about one way or the other. Most of Haunt lives kind of in just that it's fine middle ground where there isn't that much to talk about.
The Boring Valley, I believe we've referred to it as before.
I would call it the high end of the Boring Valley. The performances are mostly good.
Yeah.
The
gore is quite good.
The gore is good.
The gore is better than punching above its weight again.
It's punching above its weight. It's not like, it's not
Terrifier.
Tune in. Exactly. Exactly. The couple of things that I had highlighted to talk about that I think are worth talking about for how much better they are than that default assumption. You already touched on the pacing. I think this is a brilliantly paced film. Again, it's a haunted house movie. That's the most important thing, right? Is that there's those quiet moments and then the spooks. And that there's that tension kind of leading you through the haunted house. I thought that was excellent.
And it weirdly echoes what a haunt should be, because in a haunt, you want a lot of diversity in the rooms. Go into a room, get scared, move on, and you're in a new set piece. And this film works in that way as a haunt and as a film. It constantly is changing the set piece and moving to a new place. I thought low budget like this, they were gonna get stuck in one room for 30 minutes, but they don't. They keep moving. And the number of things they built, set piece wise, was really impressive, and it helped with the pacing because it's like they were showing us all their toys.
Exactly.
It was like, come look at the chainsaw tunnel. Now come look at the ghost room. Now come, like, it felt like a haunt experience in like a meta way.
And they're all really effective uses of the ghost room. It's just a white hallway with 20 mannequins, right? That cost $80, but like that's a great set piece.
It was.
Every time they came back to it, I was like, oh hell yeah, let's get to that room again.
Yeah.
The other thing that I had written down that I think we'll talk about a bit more later is the villains. I don't think they were perfect throughout, but there was a couple of moments with the antagonists of this film, is all I'll say for now, that were great.
I don't want to spoil this, actually.
Yeah, okay.
I think there's something going on with the villains in this that I won't say is like a full twist or anything, but there's a reveal in this that you certainly won't guess going in.
These are more interesting than the villains in almost every slasher.
Yeah, and it's worth watching to get kind of a campy, fun reveal in the third act about the villains of this film. Also, one of the great antagonists being Mitch. They kind of start, which is one of the guys who works at the haunt.
Yeah.
They kind of like, he breaks face. They're like, we need to get out of here. Can you give us the keys? And you're expecting all the people working at the haunt are just going to be villainous and ignore them and act like monsters. Mitch starts talking to them like a guy, and he pretends he's helping them.
It was awesome.
You saying you need help?
Yeah. That was the best bit of the movie, and that was a wrinkle I didn't expect. Like, I never would have in a million years guessed they took that through line, and that gave so much, like, it was a middle of the movie twist that gave, I was like, okay, where is this going?
It was such a good way to kind of yank us back over that line of, is this real or not? Because it immediately follows, one girl gets her arm cut up, like pretty bad, she's seriously hurt. Another girl, like you think, maybe died.
Yeah, it's unclear.
It happens fast. And at that point is where it's like, okay, are we at the grave encounters middle point where like now we're just running and screaming for 40 minutes, right? But no, this is like Mitch breaking character and being like, oh, like you guys are hurt, let me help. And then them dealing with that was such a great way to kind of pull us back, like, oh, is this still just a...
After you're almost certain
to
bring us back.
Yeah, the girl maybe got cut by accident and like the other girl's really okay. Like, are we... And then it spends like the next 30 minutes where you're still not sure if there's real danger.
And Mitch has a mask on. So even though he's with them and helping them and giving them keys and stuff, you never see his face. So you never feel really comfortable with him. That was probably, I didn't say this, I said this movie wasn't that well written. That was really well written.
Look, we're a little extreme here, but safety is a huge priority.
I want to talk about the worst thing about Haunt, in my opinion, which is a great segue into Houses October Built.
Okay.
I think the biggest sin Haunt makes is trying to make this movie about something that matters. I was shocked by this storyline. So for everyone at home, the main character is a college-age girl who grew up in a house with like really bad domestic violence. Her mom was presumably brutally beaten by her dad and maybe beat her.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of trauma about this, and there's flashbacks to this.
It's really heavy-handed.
It takes it very
useless.
seriously and melodramatic, and this is obviously a very serious topic. We're not making light of it. The point I'm trying to make is don't put that in your haunted house evil clown movie, because it's insulting to people that have actually gone through this.
Yeah.
Because the movie uses her overcoming the haunt as a parallel for her overcoming the domestic abuse of her dad.
And it's so shoehorned in. Like maybe in like 1985, like the idea that, oh, the horror villain represents your trauma and getting out of it is you beating your trauma. Like maybe that was an okay idea. So many movies, like this is such a cliche at this point. And this was just so shoehorned in.
And it's just like so inappropriate.
It
Because
really
this movie
is.
is not serious enough to be tackling this subject matter at all.
There's like a very literal scene where it's cutting back and forth between like her hiding from her dad having just like seriously injured or killed her mom with like a silly clown man going like, it's so dumb.
It's if you have gone through this, I imagine this would be incredibly insulting, an immediate turnoff, and it is the biggest blunder the movie makes. It should have just been Night of the Demons. But all they're trying to do is have sex. It's like horny kids in college trying to have sex, and then we kind of hate them because they're all kind of assholes, and it's funny when they get killed off by clowns. We shouldn't be seeing someone who went through real life trauma experience that trauma again at the hand of a haunt. That's not fun. It's like, it made me like sick to my stomach at the end of the movie.
Yeah, Harper was in the wrong movie. Like, so there's a storyline where she has a kind of abusive boyfriend too.
Oh yeah.
Which I think that would have been plenty. Just the fact that like she's in an abusive relationship, kinda implied. She has a bruise with this redneck guy.
Yeah.
And then he kind of folds back into the plot and like kind of an unsatisfying. Like that's plenty. Have it be that.
Sure.
And like just have her like, she's overcoming her abusive boyfriend by getting out of it, and like that's enough, right? She finds her power.
That would be fine.
But like the fact that they try to do, and like I get that there's something to like the trauma begets trauma and like the generational, but this movie does not do enough.
This isn't the time.
That's
or
not
place.
the movie for it. Yeah, this was bad.
This is a good segue, because this was the biggest blunder of Haunt. Haunt's a fun movie, but the character motivation, the thing that our characters are trying to do, which Harper in Haunt is overcome the trauma of her childhood, is kind of what the movie becomes about. That's not appropriate for a Haunt movie.
No.
What's a great motivator for your Haunt movie, and what makes the whole movie have a lot better cohesion, is what they do in Houses October Built. So we're going to move into that. We're talking about the 2014 one, the one that is a scripted horror film.
If you watch this anywhere but Shudder, it's this one.
It's this one. And we will talk about the documentary 2011 one after this, which stay tuned for, because it is a bit of a wild trip.
There's also a sequel. Not talking about that one today.
That's the whole other thing.
Whole other thing.
Houses October Built 2014 is 5 friends want to go around the country in their RV and experience the most extreme haunts. They like haunts. It's a thing they do. And they're trying to film it. They're trying to make, like, I don't know if it's a web series or what, but like this is a production. Like, we are gonna go around and film the most extreme haunts, and we are adults, and we all have a job. There's a cameraman, there's a driver, there's a producer. Like, they're doing a thing. That's a good reason to go to a haunted house, and that's good character motivation for a haunted house movie. Because it's like, yeah, that's why you would go to a haunt. This shouldn't be about trauma. The level of motivation should be at that business level decision making.
And also like a bit of a suspension of disbelief on like, why are they, after they've had a bunch of spooky things happen, why are they still filming and still going to these places? Because they're obsessed with haunted houses. It's
Because
their whole thing.
I rented an RV. We're going across. Well, the point is I want to find the most extreme haunted house in the world.
So I think that motivator, that gives the Houses October Built a really strong footing plot-wise, where you're never at any point, like in Haunt, in Houses October Built, you're never like, why are we here?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why did the movie decide to do this? It's more cohesive, and it made more sense. So let's talk about houses October built.
We touched on it, I think, in the intro, but they did find a really cool idea here, right?
Yeah.
Like originally they were out here just to go to haunted houses and talk to the guys, which I think I agree wasn't super interesting for me. I'm sure some people love documentaries about Louisiana haunted house owners.
It's niche.
It's niche.
This brings it to a much wider audience.
Yeah, this is a really cool idea of like, I mean, okay, call us homers. There's some common DNA with Hell House here.
Oh yeah.
It is really, really broadly overlapping, and like the interesting thing of that film is that these are people who are going to build a haunted house because they're obsessed with haunted houses and they're interested in that.
Right.
And the actual hauntings sort of emerge around that, and then it plays with like blurring the line between, you know, we've created this haunted house, is this real, is it not? This is doing the same thing, except instead of building one, they're going out and finding the existing ones.
Right.
It hits a lot of the same beats and it works for the same reasons.
And I think it works for the intangible regions that Hell House worked really well, which is that these feel like real friends.
Yes.
And they are real life friends. Yeah. And they, for the most part, aren't really even actors. I looked at all their IMDb's. They've done this, they did the sequel, and they've done a few other little things, web series.
Well, they all like play themselves, like it's all their real names.
Yeah, but these are not people that have made I assume they all have like day jobs. They are friends that did this as an individual project and then kind of didn't really do anything else except the sequel, which we're not going to talk about. But that chemistry felt 100% real, even in this one, where it's scripted.
Yeah.
You can tell it's scripted in the way that The League is scripted.
Yeah.
Where it's like the goal of this scene is for Mike to express discomfort with the fact that we're going to the haunt. But then they just riff because they're friends, and it never felt fake when it's the friends chatting.
Give me some of those. I will trade you. One Oreo. Bro, look at your eyes.
When it's just like them in the RV shooting the shit, it feels like you're just riding with friends in the way that like a Blair Witch Project does.
Yeah.
Which is something that's really hard, and like we commended Hell House for that. And I think How's October Built is on that same level of capturing like real life friend chemistry.
Both in the happy times and the bad times.
Yeah.
Because yes, I agree that it really sets the stakes well, and you get invested because they're just fun to hang out with for the first half hour.
They're funny people. They're charismatic people.
So it works when they're like joking around and to kind of get you invested in the characters, get you to know them and like know them by name. I think all that works. But then when spooky stuff starts happening, it really builds on that in a way that feels organic and is hard to script.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really hard to have people experience trauma in a way that rings like they're really friends. And I think most movies don't even try.
Yeah.
But some of this stuff of like them arguing with each other, like when a spooky thing happens to their RV, them arguing with each other in a way that like shows that they've been friends for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like that felt really organic, and like how you and I would actually react if a ghost showed up.
That's what I kept thinking is like this felt like if our real life friend group experienced this, I don't know how I would write it more realistically.
No, you don't give anybody a chance to talk.
You're really going to get an invitation and then just, what are we going to do? Go drink tonight at a bar?
I do not know what is going on. We're either going to the end of this road or we're going the fuck home. What do you want to do? You want to leave him out there? Is this the haunt? What is this?
You will be scared 30 seconds.
Can they fucking hear us?
Guys, what's going on here?
Is lightning in a bottle for sure with that stuff, and that is for sure the strongest part of this movie is just the time you're spending with them and like this friend group.
And it seems like that doesn't matter to a lot of other people as much as it does to us, because the reviews for this film are middling.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say it's boring because nothing happens. To me, I found... Okay, to be fair, there are not a ton of scares throughout this film.
No.
Basically what happens is they start realizing that they are being targeted by people that work at these haunts that are kind of giving them very special treatment, where like there are people showing up at a haunt 100 kilometers away from where the last one was, from the other haunt. And they start to basically they're being followed, they're being pursued, people start filming them from the woods and uploading it online. And it's not clear to them or us, the audience, whether or not this is part of a haunt experience or if they are being pursued by like real murderers. And that ramping tension to me was a really nice slow burn.
Yeah.
Because it really drip feeds it. A lot of this movie is them just going to haunts and having fun. It really teases in the like maybe something's really wrong going on thing, but at a speed that I'm not surprised that a casual movie viewer would just be like, this is boring.
Like the good movie in here and like the idea that a lot of this is built around is the question of, is this a real is this just the most extreme haunted house? Like the blue skeleton, which is what they ultimately end up going to, is the climax of the film. And a lot of these like kind of spooky happenings are around the blue skeleton and its staff.
We have this password we have to find for this, they say blue skull, blue skeleton, but there's something to blue because people keep using it.
The crux of the film and like the good movie in here is the blue skeleton just the most extreme haunted house ever? Or is it actually supernatural, or is it like axe murderers?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and kind of playing with that idea. I think the movie's at its strongest when it's kind of when you're unsure and so are the characters. And I think it's at its weakest when it answers the question. Both this film and the 2011 film, I think, stumble a little bit in kind of not sticking to that idea. What this whole thing builds to, right, is getting to the blue skeleton. And all these clips, the way that they kind of serve that theme is because they keep kind of referring back to that. A lot of the clips are focused around, we don't actually know who we hire at these haunted houses. Sometimes they're just friends of friends. We don't do background checks. Bad things have happened. All of
people
this,
have actually died on haunts through like accidents.
Some of the actors that we have they're pretty far out there. Would it surprise me if something happened? No.
All of this to sort of introduce the idea of, but then there's also a lot of clips of people talking about how like we're so committed to making the scariest possible experience, and like they're not psychopaths.
Yeah.
They're just like these people who own haunted houses. Like my whole thing is I just want people to be as scared as possible. I'll do anything to achieve that.
We'll run them through there. I mean, I'll tell the guy I'll do everything short of kill you, and they're like, that's what we want. That's what we want.
So like that's the purpose of all these clips and interviews, on top of just being like interesting haunted house footage for some people, is that they're trying to kind of illustrate that question of, is the blue skeleton just really committed haunted house staff, or are they psychos?
And it's like they're showing you the common sentiment of the subculture, so that you kind of understand what it's like to be in this world. Because that's what they're trying to do. Like, normal people would run away when they wake up in the night and those clowns have surrounded your trailer.
There's a heart in your fridge.
Right. But in the haunt subculture, that would be a great haunt. That would be something that the people they're interviewing would be impressed by. So it's like, you start to understand how they tolerate it, because it's like they're being indoctrinated by a more extreme, like, common ground. Like, everyone in the haunt space has a different level of normal. And it's like, if we want to document this, if we truly want to experience, we have to get there. We have to be as on board as they are to fully experience it.
Just calm down, all right? You came on this trip, you've seen this world, and now we've got the opportunity to do something really cool, so just relax.
But then, of course, you're susceptible to actually falling in with dangerous people. And that tension is why this movie's interesting, and I think why it's boring to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But also why I really enjoyed it. And we won't fully spoil the ending, but I will say this movie, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, is not supernatural.
No.
And I think that is a massive strength of the film.
Yeah.
Is that it is so much scarier to me, the concept of maybe dealing with an actual dangerous human being that is pushing the limits on you more than a ghost. And I haven't really seen that explored in found footage very often. Everything we've done with found footage has been paranormal for the most part.
Creep, right?
Creep's a great example of one like this.
And I think the other kind of common thread and the reason it was on top of my head with Creep is that like a lot of this can be viewed through the lens of the Blue Skeleton crew is testing the limits of the crew, like of the friends, right? Like they're doing all these things both as a way to kind of set the tone, but also as like a test for, are you guys taking this seriously enough? Right? Like, are you committed enough? Because there's a lot of things they do that would make, like you said, 99% of people turn around and leave.
Right.
And the fact that they keep coming and keep trying to find the blue skeleton.
It's like, are they consenting to it? It reminded me of a line from Speak No Evil of, why are you doing this to us? And they answer, because you let us.
Right.
And it's like, at what point do you realize you were just consenting to something you actually don't want versus trying to participate in something that's fun?
There's such a difference, though, in wanting extreme shit and knowing, okay, we're going to do an extreme haunted house, to be surrounded by, like, redneck hillbilly assholes that are, fucking with us.
So that's 2014.
That's the 2014
the one they released.
That's like, if you've seen this movie, that's what you've seen. Because this other one apparently is like, me and Avery might be the first people that have ever seen this 2011. I don't understand what happened. The 2011 version, I have a lot of things I want to talk about with this. I do want to open by saying that I think this film might be a masterpiece.
Interesting.
Loved this movie.
Really?
I'm fully cognizant of the fact that that is a very niche take, and that 99% of people won't like this, will probably turn it off and dismiss it as nothing. This movie scratched... It's like when you find a thing that seems like weirdly, like it had to be made just for you. That's what this movie is for me, and I wouldn't even expect you to have, like, you and I like a lot of the same stuff. This is just me. I love haunts. I love haunted houses. I also love mockumentaries.
Yep.
I also love real documentaries about haunts. I've watched 3 documentaries about haunts in the last couple of years. One about a guy who makes an extreme one in California, one about haunt actors in New Zealand. Like, I would watch just a normal straight-up documentary about haunts. So getting this movie, it's like it was curated for me, because it's that, but also is a found footage horror movie, kind of almost secretly.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk, I would not recommend this film to almost anyone.
I think if you really liked the 2014 one, the 2011 one is definitely interesting, and there's like a 10% chance you'll love it.
Yeah.
Is what I would have said going in, and you've clearly echoed that.
I think this is best explained by an analogy. We've talked about the Blair Witch on this channel many times. It's one of my formative horror. It's probably the first horror film I ever saw. It shaped my interest. I love the Blair Witch. It probably is why I like found footage horror today. The Blair Witch, first 20 minutes, they are not in the woods yet. They are in the town near the Blair Witch rumors, and they spend the whole time interviewing locals, shooting B-roll in the motel of the crew getting to know each other. It's like camaraderie and chemistry stuff with the cast and crew. Interviews with the locals, narration about the lore of the Blair Witch over B-roll of the town and like the countryside around it and the cemeteries. They interview guys fishing in the woods. It's all the preamble. And then at about 20 minutes, they go in the woods. And then for the rest of the movie, they kind of drop that higher produced stuff because they get lost.
Yeah.
And it becomes running around in the woods with your cameras off. And that's the part everyone remembers. And it is great and it's scary. I love all the Blair Witch. But when I go to rewatch the Blair Witch, the part I'm excited about is those first 20 minutes. It is the perfect, cozy little experience of like, it just feels like you are in a small town on Halloween. It perfectly encapsulates the feeling that I kind of want, is those first 20 minutes. And then they go to the woods and it's great. But if you asked me if I could get a cut of the Blair Witch that was an hour of preamble, and then the last 20 minutes as they go into the woods and get lost and have the final encounter in the house, I would love that. I would be like, yes, please, I want that. However, I'm aware that if that is the film that came out in 1999, everyone would have hated it and no one would have watched it. But if you think that sounds interesting too, that's what The Houses October Built 2011 is.
Yeah.
It is 90% a real cozy documentary about Halloween with interviews with weird people. And then the last 10, 15 minutes is an actual scripted horror film. And if that's it. And there's nothing else like it that I can possibly even like point to as a reference point.
The 2014 is a lot more of like a horror movie narrative in that spooky things are happening throughout and the ending is a lot more cinematic. I'm gonna say I like that better. I like 2014 better. I'm gonna talk about why. 2011 is, there's a lot less immersion breaking, right? It is a lot more of a real documentary and it's a lot more vague at the end, I guess.
Like the 2014 one is a movie.
Yeah.
It was always meant to be a movie. The 2011 one is almost like an avant-garde art piece because even what it was supposed to be changed halfway through. Like it felt more like watching like a lo-fi music video than a movie.
Yeah.
Like it was just vibes. It was just Halloween B-roll and then a little narrative tacked on to kind of the end.
You still get all the scenes of the people hanging out, which we both really liked. They're different, they're shot different, and there's less inciting incidents to sort of create that interesting conversation. Like I love, some of my favorite scenes in the film in 2014 are them reacting to the doll coming onto their RV and like them finding the thing in the fridge. Like you don't get as much of that in 2011, but you still get that camaraderie.
You do. And apparently the stuff in the RV in the 2011 one was loosely scripted as well, right? Like they had a goal in mind of what they wanted the narrative to be to end at the Blue Skeleton, but all the interviews were with real people who work at haunts. And it almost worked, if anyone watching this used to watch like All Gas No Breaks, it's essentially All Gas No Breaks interviews of haunt workers.
It is a lot more of that.
They're asking weird people open-ended questions and just letting them give just pour their hearts out.
Yeah.
The people who work at haunts are weird, interesting people.
As a child, it was one day a year where you got to dress up and you just used to have fun. Nowadays, for me, it's part of a career that I look forward to for 45 days a year.
So those interview segments in the 2011 version, I was like transfixed by, but that's because I like street interview stuff and I love haunted houses and have a personal interest with them. If you don't like those things, I don't, there'd be really nothing for you in this.
Yeah, I mean...
You have to have a very personal passion about what this is about and the way it's shot.
And 2014, I think, kind of realizes that, and it chops that up to serve the main narrative, where it really just focuses on the clips of someone saying, like, you never know who you're hiring at a haunted house.
Do you do like a background check on people just because?
You know, currently we do not do a background check, but we're looking into doing that in the future.
And in 2011, those are a lot more stretched, and it's a lot more just kind of organic, whatever they were talking about.
There's stuff you can buy that smells like rotten flesh. I don't use it because it makes our actors puke. You know, I like the scary stuff. I don't like the real scary stuff.
It's not like necessarily in service of a specific theme.
Yeah, and there's a very specific goal they have in each, the 2011 and 2014 version, that are completely different. In both of them, they are going to haunts across, mostly Texas, but kind of across the country.
Southern U.S. There's like, Louisiana and stuff.
But they're going to haunts. In the 2011 version, they very explicitly state that they are not there to see the haunt.
Because I don't want to get caught up in the monsters and the special effects. I want to see it, and that's a fun ride.
They are there to get behind the mask of the people that work at haunts. The goal of the documentary is to get to know people who work at haunts and figure out what makes them tick.
It's a strange life these dudes live every October. I mean, and we go into the dark, and these people chase us with weapons and all different kinds of stuff. And I want to take a deeper look into that because nobody really has.
The 2014 version pretty explicitly states that the goal of the road trip is to experience the most extreme haunt.
I rented an RV, we're going across. Well, the point is I want to find the most extreme haunted house in the world.
It's not to interview people. The interviews are almost there as like B-roll. Like they happen to stumble across a guy and they ask him some questions, but that's not why they're there.
Yeah, they even like seem to be, they're not like happy about talking to people. Most of the interviews go kind of bad.
Yeah.
And they like have conflict with a lot of the owners.
Yeah, and the 2011 version, I think it's such a more interesting driver to want to get to know the people. Because to me, the people are so much more interesting than the haunt. Like, who works in these things? That's a fascinating concept to investigate as a documentary. But again, that's boring. This is something that I understand. Like, I look at the reviews. This is my favorite thing, and I found someone that is a common soul to me on Letterboxd, because every review for the 2011 version is like 1 star, nothing happens. 1 star, what is this? Is this a documentary? I can't tell. There is one guy on Letterboxd, and I'm just gonna, amidst a sea of 1-star reviews and people that hated it, this guy named Dog from The Thing,
shout out,
gave it 4 stars and just said, I live for this shit. No justification, no defense about all the complaints other people are giving. He's just like, no, they made it for me. And that's all I'm claiming. I'm not saying this is a good movie, but I'm saying that you probably know if this was something made for you, and if it was, it's exactly the thing you've always been looking for.
So would you say that this is kind of more of a fun haunted house or a scary in the more scary version?
Both.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about why I have kind of one specific problem with both films.
Okay.
And it's kind of the same problem manifested differently.
Interesting.
I really liked the core idea of the second one, I think, and of the climax of the first one, which admittedly is somewhat tacked on.
Yeah.
Is this kind of ambiguity of, is the blue skeleton just an extreme haunted house, or is it you're being murdered?
Murderers, yeah.
Both films kind of break that a little bit for me, and I hated both times when it happens.
Okay.
This is gonna be a touch spoilery, so maybe if you really want to see either of these unspoiled, I'm gonna try not to spoil, I'm gonna try to spoil as little as I can, but I kind of have to talk about it.
Yeah.
2014, I really enjoyed the ending, and I think you can interpret the ending as not having answered that question.
I agree.
If you watch the ending of this film and you say it is definitely just a haunted house, or it is definitely psychopaths and they're all dead, sure. I don't think either of those is concretely shown.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
That is true.
The fact that they actually show them going through the blue skeleton and they film all these scenes, and this was the bulk of what they did for 2014, is actually doing the blue skeleton and all the scares and all the rooms. they tie it back to the like the backwoods haunted house, which was like the actually really scary one.
Yeah.
Like I loved that because they show them going through like 3 or 4 haunts in 2014. The last actual haunt they do before the blue skeleton, I actually loved. It was like really genuinely scary and was like putting me in a place of like, I don't think I could handle being in this haunted house.
And it also worked, I'll continue this thought, but it worked like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Because the cinematography of the haunted house was great. So it was shot like a horror movie, even though you are just in a haunt. You know it's fake, and it's still scary.
Yeah.
Because they shot it really intentionally. And I was really impressed by that.
It was very cool, and this one was like, they really don't start to question. At this point, you're like, at this haunt, you're like, no, these are definitely actors.
Yeah.
But it's
still scary.
A really, really high production haunted house. This is a believably, like, this is the haunted house you would travel all the way across the US to go see.
Yeah.
Because it's messed up, some of the stuff happening. And then when they get to the blue skeleton, they echo some of those scenes with the real people in a way that I thought was like incredibly effective.
Yeah.
And also served that theme of like, okay, but is it real now?
Right.
Or is it what it was last time? So I thought all that was brilliant. What I didn't like about 2014 was a lot of the interlude, like a lot of the horror things that crop up throughout. Though I mentioned some of them, and I like the literal conversations that happen of like the doll walking onto the bus.
So like all the stuff of them getting stalked,
Yeah.
essentially.
It kind of breaks that.
It does.
Because like this blue skeleton crew is just like following them around to like be weird for like weeks.
Yeah.
Like, and it didn't
breaks
really make
the immersion.
Some of them worked. I thought like when someone breaks into their RV and films them, that's enough. Just do that.
Sure.
I get the note, right? Like they watch 2011, they're like, this is boring. We need something to happen to the main characters during the hour.
Before the very end.
Before the blue skeleton. And I get the idea, and a couple of them worked. I think the person breaking in and filming them all, and like stealing the driver's license, and even leaving the heart and like the pumpkin, I thought some of them worked.
You see anybody? Why is there a pumpkin in the middle of nowhere?
Zach, get in the RV.
No,
What are you doing?
somebody
Get back in the
is-
RV. Shh.
The bunny guy and the doll, I don't think worked.
I don't think so either.
And they really kind of broke that theme of like, are these just committed haunted house workers? Because like the woman coming onto their RV and screaming and running off.
And then
it's
the
like,
artificial cut, it's like, that wasn't...
That really bothered me in 2014 and took away from a lot of what I think you liked about 2011. Again, with trying not to spoil too much, but I really didn't like about, I don't think 2011 left the ending ambiguous.
No.
Which I thought was a major, major fuck up.
They
Given that most of it was just pitch black, like 2011, the ending is mostly just Blair Witchy, and then they kind of say what happens.
Yeah.
And I was like,
2011 is
Fumble.
less ambiguous of an ending, and it's not really a haunt.
No.
So the 2014 one is like a proper haunt. It looks like a haunted house, and it works like a haunted house, and they pay off the build-up. You're like, this is the scariest haunted house I've ever seen. 2011, it's almost a rug pull of like, the scariest haunt isn't a haunt at all.
Yeah.
Because you're just in real danger, and you're in a pitch black room. And
Yeah.
it's almost like trying to be a commentary on that, but it's like, I kind of just wanted it to be another haunt. I wanted to see them build the ultimate haunt as the final haunt, and if there's real danger there, great, but I still wanted it to like look like a haunted house, and they didn't have that. It lost it.
So I guess ultimately what I'm saying is if you take the blue skeleton from 2014 and put it on the end of 2011, impossible for them to have done at the time. That's the best version, that's the best of both worlds. That's what should have happened.
And
go watch that, do it like Machete Order.
There's one other thing I want to mention about comparing specifically this. Because there's all the preamble of them being stalked in the 2014 one, by the time they get to the blue skeleton, you're kind of like primed for it. You're like assuming it is real danger because so much weird stuff has happened.
What?
60 seconds, come outside or your friend will die.
That's a text message?
The 2011 one is literally a documentary made by friends with no sense that anything wrong has happened up until they get to the blue skeleton. So when the blue skeleton bus rolls up and those doors open, that moment works so much better in 2011 because you're like, wait, is this real?
Yeah.
Is this like you actually feel like your stomach drop the way the characters would because it's the first time it is the slowest burn payoff. Like you think you're just watching a normal documentary and you enter into pure scripted horror.
This is it. This has to be it.
It says Boy Scout Troop 259.
Dude, those guys have fucking masks on.
No fucking way.
That moment is great, but then the haunt itself is a letdown. So it's exactly what you said. If you could switch those out, it would be almost a perfect movie.
And that moment is definitely deflated in 2014 because it's like they roll up to the bus and it's like, well, these guys have already like broken in and stolen stuff.
We know they're
and,
like messed up.
Them.
Like we know the level, how much they're gonna push the limit already.
Yeah.
We don't need to see it anymore. 2011 one, you have no idea what they're in for. Literally, when they get blindfolded in the 2011 one, you feel like you're watching like a snuff film. Like you forget what you're even in watching. So yeah, that's a really good point. It's interesting how they succeeded in certain areas. I think 2011 is a better film as like a piece of horror art.
Yeah.
I think it is more artistic, and I think if it resonates with you, it resonates very strongly. But it's such a niche audience that's gonna get anything out of it.
Which I think makes sense given that was like the original vision for what they wanted to do, and you're kind of seeing a much like more pure look into the filmmakers.
Yeah, I understand why they did it.
Yeah.
Right after watching them.
Then why they go back and say like, well, shit, this is kind of boring. We maybe need to spruce this up into a real movie. And the sprucing up was really up and down. They did an awesome job at something. Like I think the way they there were some brilliant ideas in how they spruced it up. And there were some bad ideas that kind of fumble the original magic.
Yeah, and they break that immersion enough which is really important in found footage, that you feel like you forget you're watching a movie and you feel like you are watching some tape you found. And the longer the film can prolong that feeling, to me, the more effective it is as found footage. And 2011 is 2011 is like Lake Mungo level realism, which is kind of cheating because most of it is real.
Yeah.
But there's almost no signs that it's a movie throughout the whole thing until the very, very end. It is literally Lake Mungo level in its own way. I feel like it's a bit of I called it a masterpiece. I think it's just severely underappreciated, and there is an audience for this film like me that will love it, that will never know this exists, which is why I really wanted to talk about it, because they did something special.
I think this is a fascinating little story in a little corner of horror history. Like if you're a weirdo like us and you're on our channel, just kind of delving into these two films was way more interesting than I expected going in.
Oh yeah.
Because like personally, like I really like 2014. Besides the couple of things,
it's a good movie.
I've mostly talked about the things that bothered me, but like the whole Blue Skeleton sequence in 2014 is some of the most memorable horror, and like not even just the literal what's going on, but like the execution of like the through line of the theme and the way that it stays ambiguous despite being an effective, like a really effective horror sequence, I think is brilliant. And it was like a masterful pull off to like a thing to achieve given what they're working with.
I think objectively, we're not doing scoring on this, but I think that the 2014 Houses October Built is on the same level as Hell House as a film. I think it's like around that quality. If you liked Hell House, you will probably love Houses October Built.
Definitely.
Same level of realism, very similar feel and execution to it. 2011 is, I think if you really liked Lake Mungo, you'll probably like the 2011 one.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing, or Blair Witch. Like if those movies really spoke to you, those movies are more like that.
Which is exactly correct, because those are three things that I like a lot less than you.
Exactly. You like more movies, and I sometimes like the weird surrealist like stuff that's pushing the boundaries in found footage, which is like a niche of a niche of a niche.
Yeah.
But that's what the 2011 one is.
I'll handle it. It's fine. Get on the bus. Keep that fucking camera rolling.
I'm also just really happy because I mean, we did a video on Satan's Little Helper, right?
Yeah.
That was
on Patreon only because of copyright. But...
Patreon only. That film, the whole thing that I like so much about it was a very early kind of horror, like non-mainstream horror movie for me. I hadn't seen a lot. I thought it was so great, like that angle of horror of just this guy in a mask.
Right.
And it is completely hidden. You don't know his motives. You don't know who he is. You don't know if he's a ghost or a demon or like a murderer or just like a guy. Like you have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that we've seen so many films that have done this. And I thought that Grave Encounters. I thought that Houses October Built hit that itch for me as well.
I agree.
Like some of those, you don't know who's behind the mask. And I think Haunt did that too.
Yeah, that's why Mitch works so well.
Mitch works for a lot of the same reasons. I think that is an angle of horror that like a thing in horror that I'm realizing I love.
Yeah.
That's when it's like just the guy standing still behind the mask and you don't know who's behind it.
Yeah.
I think we would feel a lot more fucking comfortable if you took off that fucking mask. Yeah, lose the mask. And you told us what your real name was.
I want to get my soapbox out because I have a bit of a stance to take that no one has ever taken before or cares about.
Nice.
So I figured you're the right person to talk to about this. I think that the Houses October Built 2014 is very irresponsible with how they treat the haunt community. Because the Houses October Built, and this is as someone who has watched a lot of these documentaries, I feel that there are a lot of great people involved in haunts that, just like me, like spooky, messed up stuff that doesn't make you evil. You can have interests in this stuff in the same way that people love theater or really love a specific band. They are passionate about this thing, and even though they're typically odd people, they're still human beings. And a lot of them are parents and good and like hard-working folks.
I'm a nurse, even better. I'm a mother, a wife, I have horses, but this is my passion. I love Halloween. Really? And if I can get you to scream, then I feel great.
They just love haunts.
He had a bunch of friends that they used to work at Six Flags together. And some of them went to school together, and it's just evolved through the years.
And I don't think they should be vilified for that. I think that it's an okay thing, as long as you are practicing safe haunt practices, to enjoy this amongst like consenting adults that want to be involved in haunt stuff. I think it's wholesome and fun if it's done safely.
That is interesting. It is exploitative the way they've decided.
It's exploitative because 2011, they give them the stage to tell their stories. And I found a lot of the people in 2011, even though they're typically peculiar people, there's real heart to them. And a lot of them give like a reason for why they're doing it that isn't just like, I'm a psychopath. A few of them are like, you might be a psychopath.
Yeah.
If I was stuck in traffic on the way here, all that pent-up aggression is now taken out on somebody. Be as vicious and mean as I can towards anybody to scare them.
But a few of them are like, they just love it. It's like theater to them. It's something they look forward to all year. And I empathize a lot with this. As someone who loves Halloween, I'm like, I could see getting into it if I didn't have any of the holdbacks I do about doing this.
Right.
I could understand this being a personal passion, and I would hate that people like ostracize me for it. But the 2011 one I don't think does. I think it gives them the grace to express themselves openly without being judgmental, in the way that a lot of old All Gas No Breaks did.
I bet the crew of this movie, like the main cast, would agree with you. Because it seems like they watched 2011 and very deliberately decided to just chop it up into a horror movie in a way that they would probably agree is exploitative. And I think similar things have been done with like Voodoo, right?
Yeah.
Or like
tons of horror
where it's
stuff.
like you've got to chop down this kind of complex, interesting world into these are antagonists.
Yeah.
In a way that ultimately, I mean, especially where it's not supernatural, like you kind of have to paint, in this case, backwoods horror, like you have
as
to
they
create
call them,
that
backwoods
fear.
rednecks.
Yeah,
right. Is who the antagonists are. And the worst thing about this is the 2014 one uses the interview clips from 2011, but it edits them in a way to make them seem more sinister.
Just focuses on the like, we don't do background checks.
Yeah, well, I don't know who that was.
Somebody died in a haunted house once.
A younger kid that was in a scene where it was a hanging scene, and he had replaced the breakaway noose that was in the scene with his own, but he accidentally hung himself.
It cuts out all of the soft human elements and only includes the parts of the interviews that make everyone who works at a haunt seem crazy.
Yeah.
And they do that to effective use to amplify the horror of the narrative of the film. But those are real interviews with real people. And I feel like those people would be pissed off at how that interview was used in that context. And then the problem is the movie makes them, it's like they are villains. Because we don't know exactly what happened at the Blue Skeleton, but I think the obvious interpretation is that at least they pushed it too far and were not good people. Like that they were clearly being asked to be let out and want to leave and they weren't letting them. Like this was a very extreme haunt, and it kind of paints it like everyone who works at haunts is in on it together and will gang up on you and like do what happens to the crew in the movie. That could happen to you. It's like, it's making it like, it's trying to make us scared of it. It's trying to make them all seem villainous and evil, and it removes all the humanity from haunts, which no one cares about.
Yeah.
But I do. And I feel for these people in the 2011 one. When I saw the footage being misused and edited in a way that was manipulative, I was like, this kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth.
No, this is really interesting, and I completely agree. This was not something I clocked, but I think it makes a lot of sense. But something that I'll raise if you were to remake this, there's a way to do it, and I think the template comes from what I think is was the Mount Rushmore movie from you, is Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah.
That's a film that that very deliberately takes steps to avoid just being native people are scary.
Right.
And like savage, evil natives. Like it really, like it has native people as the antagonists, but it very deliberately says this is a small group of crazy people within our community that the rest, like, we're not on board with.
And it has indigenous characters that are with the good guys in the movie to show that this is not all indigenous people. It is this one specific group for a very specific reason that does not represent all indigenous folks.
And I think if you were to remake Houses October Built, which I'm not necessarily advocating for, I think there is a really interesting opportunity to do that, where they're going to these extreme haunted houses, but they're running into the problem of like, this isn't extreme enough. And then the owners of these haunted houses are like, guys, we gotta like be accredited.
Right.
We gotta we can't be giving people heart attacks. Like, no, like the Blue Skeleton, those guys are psychos. You don't want to talk to them. That's dangerous. Right? And you're like, you draw that line between the Blue Skeleton and then all these
normal
other people.
And yes, you draw that division. And I would argue, I think the 2011 version does do this.
Yeah.
Because they show a lot of haunt owners explaining, they're like, do you guys use real body parts, real blood, all this stuff? And they're like, some people out there do that. We don't. We want kids to feel safe here. Like, they make a real case for why they are running a business as human beings. They just love the haunt.
We were hearing some talk of like people using like real bodies and real blood and all of that gore stuff.
I've heard of that, and it's definitely not our style.
I have never been to one that really does that. Thank goodness. That's invading my territorial bubble.
And they do, I feel, draw that division because when they get to the Blue Skeleton, they make a very clear point of saying there's one guy, and this is a scripted bit, who's a psycho, a consultant that comes into the extreme haunts, and he's basically a bad guy. You don't want to deal with him.
Yeah.
They get his phone number, they call him, and that's how they get into the Blue Skeleton.
I know that he has a reputation also for helping other folks do some things that I wouldn't want to do here.
It would really help us out if I could maybe get the guy's phone number. I mean, of course, I would, not have it coming back to you at all, or...
So it is kind of what you're talking about. I feel like they consented to, we want to go beyond what we've been advised. We're going into the out of bounds sign. We're going past it, and that's why we're being treated badly. The 2014 one implies that all haunts are evil, and they all are in kind of like a cabal together. And like one haunt's gonna tell the next haunt, hey, this group's coming, you gotta mess with them extra. And it's not like that. It's like family run businesses.
You're probably the first guy ever to like get on your soapbox to stand up for the rights of haunted house owners, but I think it's bang on. And I think it's a totally fair criticism that 2014 ends up exploitative of this community that this film takes so much from.
And what 2014 does with these people is the same exploitation that Haunt does with haunt people. The villains in Haunt are also caricatures of the most extreme haunt experience you could have, taken to a comic book villain level.
Yeah, I think it works in that that's isolated, right? Like it's not like...
But I think it illustrates that the trope is that people who work at haunts are crazy and probably axe murderers, because it's like, that's the neutral depiction of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, Houses October Built came out a lot before Haunt. Who's to say that didn't influence it, right? You're seeing how when you misrepresent communities, that will show up later in media and be represented as just the truth. That's what everyone's like. I think it's a slippery slope. This became an ethical debate about haunt workers, but...
Stop marginalizing haunted house owners.
I don't know.
No, I think it's totally fair. I think that's a really... Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point that 7 people who watch this video are going to be thrilled that you're standing up for them.
They had all the exploitive horror films.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point now to where people are wanting that level of exploitation in the haunted house.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, I'd say I definitely recommend all of this.
Yeah.
I think Haunt is way above, it's about as high as you can go for not being like a defining horror movie.
Yeah,
right? Like
I think that's fair.
Like it's for sure not The Thing, it's not Hereditary, it's not up there. But amongst sure, it's a slasher. It's not a remake. It's really slick. The worst thing about it's still pretty good. It's paced well. It's never boring. The performances are fine. go watch it if you just need a horror movie.
It's way above the middle pack streaming slop that it looks like it's going to be. It's a lot better than that, and it deserves more credit than that.
Really similar to Until Dawn, which we talked about a while ago, that I think was maybe a little more creative, but
yeah, it's in that.
It's kind of in that range of like it punches. It's rock solid for just what it says in the can. How does October build? If you're a horror weirdo, get into this world. These are both interesting watches.
If you're a horror weirdo, you probably will like one of them.
Yeah. Let us know
and then
which.
the other one will at least be an interesting companion piece.
Yeah.
If I enjoyed both, but I think the Venn diagram of people that enjoy both is relatively small. One of these is going to speak to you a lot stronger than the other.
I think for me, it's just kind of fascinating to chart out what happened.
Yeah.
Because like 2014, I think is a fine film on its own.
Yeah.
2011, I think wouldn't be for most people without the context.
No.
But I think unpacking the story of what happened, of they were going to do a documentary, and then they tacked on a horror movie, and then they revisit it to make it a full horror movie. It's kind of fascinating to kind of watch that timeline.
I think outside of the horror found footage space, if you just like film, it's really fascinating to see the same people basically do a rough draft and come back 3 years and almost remake it with the exact same people, and they're both full length. I can't think of another example of this in cinema, not just found footage horror. I think that's just a fascinating little case study.
Yeah, like we mentioned, there's a bunch of like a director made a short film and then expanded it into a big budget, but that's not what this is. This is a much closer together double feature.
And it changes genre. Like they set out to make a documentary, and then by 3 years later, we're remaking it as a found footage scripted horror film. It's just a bizarre thing to look at if you're into movies, to see how these people got this stuff made, what they decided to change, what to keep the same. It's fascinating.
It is really cool.
And it's also entertaining.
So I'd recommend all three of these, honestly, for very different reasons.
Yeah, all of them have a different reason you could possibly... The only thing they have in common is the haunted house, which I guess is why we're here.
We've really explored every angle of haunted houses and horror movies here. So
yeah, that's all we got. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Check out our Patreon. Lots of dang fun stuff over there.
Once again, a shout out. These both came up a lot in comment sections. We read all those and we love checking out your suggestions, so keep those coming. Let us know what else we should check out next.
Happy Halloween.